Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. From the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from Earth 616 to the Mojoverse to the TVA in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
I'm the nerd with the mouth, David.
Alliance Assemble,
Assemble.
Volume 276. And yes, welcome to this current era of Marvel Alliance, where we are truly the victims of Marvel Studios and Marvel just basically saying, you know what? Yeah, we're not going to pump out news, and we're just going to kind of leave people hanging and doing some fun stuff. So that's why we took last week off, and we weren't going to try to take 2 weeks off unless we had to. So we've got a kind of an evergreen topic tonight to talk about that David has not been a part of, and I've updated some things about maybe some of my choices. So we're gonna have completely honest, no big news in the rumor mill. Hasn't been strong necessarily, and David and I just said, you know what, let's just have some fun and bask in the past of what has been Marvel streaming television. So it's been a couple of weeks. So how you been, David?
I've been pretty good. Just work, been busy, life been busy, having fun with kids, and spending a lot of time playing video games and catching up on sleep.
Yeah, it's been busy last 2 weeks. It's work's been good, family's been good, and soccer season has come to an end, and then it's freed up a little bit of time. But with Halloween week this week, it's also for us in the education world, it's a week of excitement, but it's also a week of trepidation to see how that's going to go. But thank goodness it's on a Friday, because the kids get to celebrate and don't come back the next day because they got a weekend to get some of that sugar out of them. So yes.
Yeah, no rappers in the hallways or on seats or in other random places.
It'll probably happen still a little bit on Monday, but hey,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting. But what are you all dressing up for Halloween? We got to at least talk a little bit about it.
This is the first year in a while I am not dressing up as anything other than maybe throwing on a Spider-Man mask. One kid is a demon version of the Scream guy, and another one is an inflatable man riding a alien, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
it's something weird and inflatable, and he absolutely had to have it. And out of all the things that was inside of the Halloween store, which some of these costumes that they have, I am surprised that are sold in stores. That's what he picked, and I was like, "Oh, it's appropriate. It fits. All right."
All right. Yeah. Yeah. My kids are dressing up. One is Batman, and my daughter is going to be Cinderella. So it is. The interesting thing is, like, she hasn't talked about Cinderella all year. It's basically she's been one of the all into Wicked, and so I could have sworn Alphabub, Glinda, something. Nope, Cinderella. And I asked her last night. I said, "Why Cinderella?" She's like, "I don't know." I said, "Okay, well, you'll be different, all right."
Yeah.
But it'll be fun. I'm debating whether, depending on how tired I am when I get home from work, is whether I'm going to my old reliable Indiana Jones. I've got all the gear for that. I've done that the last couple of years. But if I'm particularly tired and just want to throw on one thing, I'm down in that Scarlet Spider hoodie because dang, I love that hoodie so much.
Yeah.
It's a good one at that point, and those who know are the real ones, you know. And I would do wear it out at some points, and people say, "Dude, I love that." I was like, don't you? You know who this is.
Yeah, it's
So
that is got to be a marvelous choice. So the Spider-Man for me is the old reliable. Like if I just don't feel like doing anything, I have the full costume. I wore it last year, but this year it's probably just gonna be I'm gonna be more casual Spider-Man, like in his button-up shirt, just throw on the mask and swing it out in your regular clothes.
yeah, a pivot jack in there saying I'm dressing up like a Clark Kent. Figure it would be easy to fling mail in. Oh yeah, it would be. Says kid isn't participating, but again, he's 17, so he's over it. Yeah, well, it ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
They go out of it for a bit, and then they want to come back. But yeah, so yeah, if you did notice, we say we were off, but if you noticed in your feeds, there was a short episode Mr. Travis Snell decided to come in, and I guess he taken some umbrage with what I had said last week in response to his little quote unquote joke that he tagged me with. And, we've gone back and forth a little bit, but he wants an answer to his quote unquote challenge. Well, you know, he responded that for my call out to questions, that he did have a question and he hasn't received an answer yet. Well, guess what? There's a time and a place for answers to those, and we call them the listener feedback section. So if you were hoping, Travis, to hear an answer to your challenge, you're not going to get it right now. You're going to get some sort of answer in the listener feedback section. So,
Yeah.
stay tuned. Some sort of answer. Keyword, some sort of answer. But since we've got a show to get on, and we want to move on to what we do best here at that point. So let us, before we get into that, we have the lovely network plugs to get out of the way. So we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance network with 6 shows covering the wide range of geek and nerdom. To see the full schedule, check out the show notes below and subscribe to the Geek Ultimate Alliance network on Twitter at GUAPod Network, so you know when all the shows drop. We also have a Patreon, so if we want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we've got 2 tiers. We've got our $1 tiers, our tip jar to say, hey, you think we're doing a good job? And then we've got our $5 tier with ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon-exclusive shows. We've got a couple of shows from Marvel Alliance that we did on there. We've done the We Can Watch This All Day, the Marvel Infinity Saga rewatch. We've done Tales from the House of X, where we looked at all our favorite movies from the Fox era of X-Men. And then our most recent one, the Baxter Broadcasts, the Fantastic Four retro film reviews. So those are out there for all the patrons to enjoy. We've got the DC Alliance guys doing their DC film through the years. We've got Joe getting ready to wrap up his Multiverse Minutes, 30-plus days of Halloween. And he also, the 1st and the 15th, he does his Disney Dives, looking at the animated classics of Disney in chronological order. So a lot of back content. We want to thank our patrons. We can't do this without your support. But if you're not a member of our Patreon, go to www.patreon.com/GUA network so you can enjoy that and be a part of our Patreon alliance. But if you're not a member of our Patreon, totally understand. If you can take 30 to 90 seconds to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. We greatly appreciate it. And last, but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, panelboundcomics.com, for your omnibus hardcover collected edition needs. The crew, JP and the crew at PBC, have got it going on with excellent customer service, immaculate packaging, ships around the world. Earn those discounts, earn those points to get some discounts on books. And they've got the new final order cutoff. New pre-orders for Marvel. It's a smaller one this month for Marvel. They sometimes go through this, so I can put it all right here. We've got Web of Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 2, first time ever coming into print. We've got Daredevil Modern Era Epic Collection, the Murdoch Papers coming out. We've got Star Wars Legends Legacy Omnibus Volume 1. This is the era post Skywalkers, where there is one surviving Skywalker left of the legacy. And he is no longer a Jedi; he is a bounty hunter. So, will he take up the mantle of his legacy? We got Wolverine, Not Dead Yet Omnibus. That is AK Wolverine Volume 7. They didn't want to do Volume 7 because as you start getting up in numbers, sales don't necessarily do that. So that's where they've titled it Not Dead Yet. And we've got X-Men, The Trial of Gambit Omnibus, aka X-Men Onslaught Aftermath Volume 2. Brand New Day, Spider-Man, the conclusion of that saga in Volume 3. Fantastic Four by Dan Slott Omnibus, and the Invincible Iron Man Omnibus Volume 4. Get those and all the rest of them by using 2 different codes. You can use Marvel GUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order, or use MGUA-SIT for 5% off when you order 4 or more books together. It lets them know you're a listener, and we want to thank them for being our official sponsor. All right, take that down. There we go. Yep, I'm definitely teasing it at that point. Again, you gotta make people wait. Especially when they try to call you out and accuse you of things that, it's funny when you spin information, spin facts. He's been watching too much of the American news media these days, right?
Yeah, he's definitely got the spin down.
An important question: are you snagging that X-Men? I need more clarification. I don't know what you mean. You talk about the book? Yes, I will be definitely picking up that X-Men one because I have the Aftermath Volume 1, so I've got to get that. So yeah. But I don't know how many more I've got. I'm pretty solid on X-Men. There's not many more I need left to fill my holes, but fill my holes
Yeah.
of my bookcase here. Yeah, I
Collection.
got to
Yeah.
yeah, clutch. Yes, exactly. I almost missed that one. So anyways, all right. So, like we said at the opening, news has been non-existent in the Marvel Studios land post New York Comic Con. So, we are doing an evergreen topic that Brent and I had did late last year. Interesting enough, almost the same time last year, but David wasn't a part of it, and a lot more shows have come out, and we've added in the Netflix era since technically it is canon to now the MCU. There was questions about it, so I don't even think we did it. So we are looking at our updated top 5 MCU streaming episodes. So, when I brought it up to David, I asked him, "Do you want to include Netflix?" He said, "Absolutely." And I figure, knowing how we both kind of travel in similar circles and certain likes that we have with certain episodes, I wanted to make sure that, we have some backups because, if you put something out there, I put something out there, it obviously would be on our list, so that way it'd be interesting, our top 5s, but also ends up being a top 10 list. So I don't think we necessarily need to have these in any sort of particular order. These are our favorite 5 episodes in Marvel streaming.
Yeah. I was able to collect, there's a lot of good episodes, so we both have a lot of backups just in case,
Yes.
someone calls out something. We've got options. We've got so many in the chamber just in case.
Yep. Um, so I'll start off, and there, because I was thinking, I was like, man, what's gonna be my first choice? What's gonna be that first choice is gonna be, and even looking back and writing my notes for the episodes, I was thinking, man, it just inspires you, saying, like you were saying, like you watched one of your choices that happened to be a penultimate episode. I got to finish it at that point. Man, I wish it makes me want to go back and watch a number of these series, particularly this season, which even thinking back to my list, I think this still is my favorite series of all time on of the, when the MCU started putting these on Disney Plus. It is Loki season 2, episode 6, Glorious Purpose. So this is the season. This is we're just basically call it the series finale of Loki, and what a perfect title for it, because again, it is the line that he has always said. Like he is in, what does he say? He's burdened with glorious purpose since the beginning, and it is a full circle moment for Loki, especially with confronting the overwhelming responsibility of maintaining the multiverse's stability. Um, it's deeply moving, almost mythological kind of ending to it. Visually stunning, emotionally resonant. Hiddleston's performance, especially as he's going through and having this Groundhog Day like experience where he's going through trying to, every time he thinks he's got it figured out to save the time loom, and it still blows up in his face. And then that the confrontation between him and he who should not be named,
Yeah.
or excuse me, not he who remains, excuse me, and just that conversation, and he says, "Yeah, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do this," and then wait a minute, we've done this before, and then Loki just kind of drops that, "Oh, you got there," he and he just the line, the callbacks to Thor, the callbacks to everything, and this is a villain, a true-on villain that was introduced to us, that has been a thorn in the side, and the arc that this character goes to become a fan favorite and to basically now be, the definition of, one could call him a hero, but I still think we call him an anti-hero because I think he's leaned more heroic than villain now, but I still think that calling him an anti-hero is not a knock against him. I think he's definitely one of those that we can put up as, yeah, he's grown, he's changed, and that with the position he's put himself in, man, I can't wait to hopefully see him in Doomsday and Secret Wars because he's going to be a critical part of this, and I mark my words, he will be a member of this Avengers team.
Yeah. This was also on my list because it is a great episode. I was talking to Brent about it today. Everyone in this episode puts on a stellar performance, including the actor behind Victor Timely. Like, separating the art from the artist, like everyone in this episode played a part and played it so well. And this is while it is both the culmination of Loki's journey, it also ends and sets up a way that this could either be the end of the story or this can be the bigger branching universe that is set forth. So, like, I'm excited to see where we go with this character because in every time we've seen Loki, he has not been a just background character, but this has taken him from just that villain to a more complex, layered, deep character where you find yourself at times going, he's still a bad guy. He's still selfish at times, but this is a man of layers, and everything about this was great. In that final scene, everything coming together, the whatever budget that they decided to spend on him recreating the loom, thank you for breaking the bank on that because that entire scene, him sitting on the throne, his crown rebuilding as he's going, like everything about that, I was just like, yes, this is an amazing piece of television.
Yeah. So, all right, what's your first one you want to talk about?
Okay, so my first one that I want to talk about, I will get straight into it. It's not the best on my list, but it's the one that, again, last night I watched it, I loved it, and it made me watch more. And that is Punisher Season 1, Episode 12, Home. And that is because in this episode, Punisher goes full Punisher. You get every aspect of both Frank Castle and the Punisher. Like, the viciousness of him and everything else, but it's also juxtaposed with as he's going in and out of consciousness. At times he's having the flashbacks to his wife. He's having that moment of, do I be Frank or do I go ahead and be the Punisher? But then you see just the gruesomeness of why he's doing what he's doing. He's embraced the Punisher by this point. He's full on in it, and the scenes with him, yes. I've got one on.
Yeah, David.
Let's jump over there.
Yeah, we both got them. We both have. For those that were holding, David and I got our respective Frank and Daredevil Funkos in the last couple of weeks.
Yep, they're here, they're ready, and this episode, yeah, this was to me Punisher at one of his most
women, Red.
At one of his most Punisher moments, and just the full on accepting of, I am no longer Frank the family man. I'm giving up on that. I love and here's everything with my wife and my family, but I'm letting go to fully embrace being the Punisher.
Yeah, and this was also as one of my choices. Every episode of the Punisher stands out for a reason on its own. But when thinking of the show as a whole, this episode comes to mind for me for one of the most disturbing reasons. Eye gouging isn't a method of killing seen on TV very often. And except for a few notorious circumstances, poor Pedro Pascal in Game of Thrones, but for Marvel, it's essentially unheard of until, fairly recently. And that was until Punisher delivered one of the most hard-to-watch scenes in TV history. But that feeling of unease, disgust, discomfort, and shock is exactly part of the reason this episode was so good. For a piece of media to get under the skin so much as this penultimate episode of this Punisher's first season proves just how much it had held over its fans and how much the target audience has come to feel for these characters. between intertwining sequences, clever cuts, and brewing culmination of the season story. Home is one of the best episodes. I completely agree of the Punisher series. The most personal and incisive look of why Frank does what he does is Home. The 12th episode of this first season, their viewers we see images of a happy family, his military decor, seemingly sweet normality of life that he had. Frank, we've known is Frank is grit. Now we see him really as a husband, a father, and it all ends with an interrogation gone wrong, at least for the bad guys.
Yeah.
And Frank getting some much needed revenge on Agent Orange, another overarching villain. It's the best Punisher content out there with its vulnerable illustration of Frank's purpose. And that's the thing when it comes down to the Punisher that it people just say, "Oh, it's just people like, a guy that just goes out and kills things." Then you're missing you're missing the entire idea of what the Punisher is. And I point to so many different writers that have done Punisher so well, but besides his creators at that point, the modern run that brought Punisher into this kind of like, this is how you can write it, is Garth Ennis. Garth Ennis is
Yes.
still to this day my favorite Punisher writer of all time.
Yeah.
The series captures it very well.
Yeah, this again, you get the full scope of who Frank Castle is as a man, as a father, as a husband, and then as who he is now, literally letting go of his wife in order to say, nope, I'm going to finish the mission that I have within myself. I'm going to go back to this war that I am in. And the way that he takes down Agent Orange and the way that he just fully unleashes on him, like, you've already taken this guy out and you are just pounding him. And then the moment with taking out the eyes and everything else, it was just, it shows you, okay, Frank has embraced who he is as the Punisher. And I watched it again last night and I was like, I just have to finish the series now.
Yep. I mean, dude, might as well. All right. So my next one, this series, every time I go back and revisit it, every time I think about it, to say it's just quote unquote standard Marvel, there was so much more going on. And I got into some pretty heated discussions with friends of mine about it and why this show had a lot deeper things, and quote unquote people want to say certain things about the show. Fine. But I think there was a lot more going on, and I'm so glad they didn't shy away from certain things and confronted it. And that would be The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I'm specifically talking about Episode 5, Truth. Taking the name from the miniseries of the same name, looking at the first, quote unquote, the first Captain America, or as some people got the first, African American Captain America. Falcon and Winter Soldier is often remembered as one of Marvel's most uneven Disney Plus efforts. Episode 5, I disagree with that. I understand why people say it, but I think, knowing what the show is going through behind the scenes, I think what they bring in with Truth represents everything this series is about. Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes retrieve Captain America's shield from John Walker and his public downfall. And then that fight sequence alone and basically breaking John Walker's arm to get the shield off. I mean, that was a visceral way to open the episode after we saw previously what John Walker did after decapitating someone on live TV. Reclaiming his shield, Sam grapples with the weight of Captain America's mantle and the complicated history of black heroes in America. The episode pulls absolutely no punches. It delivered emotional, thought-provoking scenes between Sam and Isaiah Bradley, played by expertly, to this day, one of the best supporting characters that Marvel brought into this. I'm so proud and so happy that they did with Carl Lumbly playing Isaiah Bradley, giving the story of the richest and the resonance rarely seen in superhero TV. At the same time, Bucky's arc reaches a cathartic turning point as he begins making amends for his past. The pacing slows down to allow the characters to breathe, making the payoff hit even harder when Sam finally steps into his destiny. The subsequent training scene quickly became everything the Falcon Winter Soldier promised it would be, but that conversation between Isaiah and Sam still gives me goosebumps. And just when Carl Lumley, as Isaiah Bradley says, they will never let a black man be Captain America. You see the pain, you hear what happened to him, and
Yeah.
it's just like everything right there is laid out on the table.
And his follow up, and nor should you want to
Yes,
be like,
exactly. And it
they
makes
don't
sense for
want you
him.
there.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, why do you want this mantle to celebrate people who did not want us? Yes, that is an amazing, amazing episode.
Yeah.
We That's also where we get the scene with Zemo and the Dora Milaje. We get don't call her Val,
Yep.
saying that, hey, you made the right choice, offering him, his chance to make things right. We get these scenes with Sam back home in Louisiana and his sister Sarah having her moments with Bucky. Like, there's just so many moments that build characters in here that is just it. Yeah, that is an amazing episode.
Yeah. So, what's your second pick?
All right. My second pick is going to be Moon Knight episode 5, Asylum.
All right. All right.
Uh,
Also put on my list, and it's a very good choice. I would agree.
yeah, from everything from the field of reeds and how they did that, and just the beauty and the specter of, no pun intended, of everything that is being shown in this afterlife. The boat sailing, the Dewat and everything. It's just, it was it was pretty cool just to see that moment as, okay, Mark Spector, you're dead, but you're being weighed on the scales of justice to determine whether you get to go here or whether you get to go there. And as he's going through all this, you have Dr. Harrow, who is trying to convince um, him to open up and let him in. But we also see the moments of Stephen Grant and Mark Spector, and how these two became to be the breaking of his brother dying, his mom blaming him for the death, and just the way that he cracked. So all through this series, we had been seeing him have these missed calls with his mom, only then to find out that this was just his two personalities, and this is how he coped with that pain, by breaking, literally breaking in a moment. And you watch this break happen in kind of real time as he's walking down the street. And like, this was some incredible acting in this episode. So yeah, it definitely made my list.
Yeah, I remember a quote from Mark Spector, as played by Oscar Isaac, saying, "You try taking a life, see how quickly you forget."
Yeah.
In a series filled with, you know, a series looking at the idea of mental illness and of what happens to a person at this point going through trauma that's layered on trauma. Asylum goes above and beyond the rest in exploring, Moon Knight and Mark Spector, and Willis also getting deeper into the Egyptian mythology than any other chapter of the series. Mark and Steven's journey through the underworld serves as a very suitable pretext for a flashback-centric episode that answers questions, raises more, because again, it's Moon Knight, you can't help but raise more questions, and sets the stage for a blockbuster finale with a very interesting conclusion. In my opinion, Asylum reveals to audiences everything you could want to know about the story of Mark's life, the origin of the mental health struggles, and then how he became enslaved by Khonshu. With Spectre forced to relive this tormented past while Grant discovers it for the first time, Oscar Isaac delivers two great, different, and compelling performances in the same episode, with Steven acting as the vessel for the viewer to uncover the mystery of who he is. I agree. I think Asylum shines through the depth and it gives the main hero, the stellar performances, the sides the Egyptian mythology dives into, and how exceptionally it sets up an even bigger ending. After all, there's nothing better than to predate an action oriented finale than a profound character piece. And that's what I think a lot of times we see with Marvel penultimate episodes. Like, we don't get a lot of strong finales, but those penultimate episodes seem to kind of hit home.
Yeah. Uh, that I will say Marvel does good with two things: penultimate episodes and episode fours. It,
Oh, episode 4. Okay, fair. Well, I won't throw an episode 4 at you. I don't know. I'm looking at my list right now. Do I have an episode 4 on here?
I've got one, two, three, four more episode
Huh.
four.
Oh, okay. Well, there you are. You're calling. I think about. Nope. I do have an episode 4. I do have an episode 4 as one of my choices. We'll see. It may be coming on or we'll mention, but all right. So yeah, let's take an ad break before we continue with our list. So listeners, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they could be a bit loud. So give it a 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right. So, this is when you have a lot of choices, and it's just like, could it be on there? But this episode, I don't think many of us thought anything like this of a show of this caliber was good, but we were like, oh my goodness, I can't believe they did this. I can't believe an episode brought this out there. And it's going to be not an episode 4, but an episode 5 from X-Men 97, episode 5, Remember It.
The minute you said episode 5, I knew exactly where you were going.
It's one of those where I have other choices, but this is one that truly is on a list, and I know it's probably would be really much on your top 5 and a lot of people's, just because it's an animated show. I'm not knocking animation. I'll be the first one to defend animated movies and animated shows that are quality, but man, who would have thought that X-Men 97 would have delivered the episode that just people said, I mean, I literally, when I saw it that morning, I had tears. I was getting welled up. I was having some tears because it was so powerful. It was so, like, I didn't think we were building up to something like that. It's devastating, unforgettable. That left us as viewers, generally me included, shaken. When a wild sentinel invades Genosha, several mutants leap into action, most notably Gambit, who finds himself making the ultimate sacrifice during the desperate battle between Bastion's forces. I mean, we started picking up by that point, like, whoever it says previously on X-Men, that's what the episode was going to focus on. In a minute I saw the title says, oh no. Like, I started thinking about it, saying, no, they won't do that to Gambit. They won't. I mean, I know it's comic accurate, but they wouldn't do that. Yep, there you go, Fiffa Jack. Yes, that hits all the feels. The writing gave Remy an emotional spotlight that he long deserved. It portrayed him not only as a charming rogue, but a true hero ready to lay down his life for mutant kind. The episode's pacing is relentless, building tension throughout the heartbreaking climax where he meets his end in a blaze of glory, where he grabs on to after he gets stabbed in his side, and he just looks up and grabs on, uses his kinetic energy and says, the name's Gambit, remember it. And even prior to that, like, his whole going back and forth with Rogue, and is she going to be with Gambit, or is she going to be with Magneto? The animation and voice acting combined to deliver one of Marvel's most emotionally charged moments. Rogue's heartbreaking grief is palpable at the end when she's just I can't feel you. And you just, the lifeless body, just her holding his hand, and you just see the tears streaming down. I can't feel you. It defines, it literally is, for the entire series, the best episode of X-Men the animated series of all time. It really is.
I agree. It is on my list. The minute you said episode 5, I knew exactly what you were talking about. I mean, we can go on and wax poetically about the Gambit and Rogue stuff all day long. It was it is the heartbeat of the episode. But there's also other great moments. You have
Yes.
the newscast interviewing the X-Men, and I will say three words to this: Cyclops was right. His speech when she asked why they're lying and why they put on the facade, and she says, "We gave you a chance to be normal," and so why did you lie? And he says, "Because you're normal." He says, "You're ungrateful. We fight, risk our lives for you. Evil mutants, robots, crazy aliens. I gave him up. I gave him up because you can't say thank you. Because I have to stomach your questions and prove that I'm a person. I lie because the truth is we're nothing like you. And thank God, because it's the only reason you people are still alive." I was like, my man, let it out.
And
But
then realized, dang it, I can't believe I said that on air.
yeah, but there were just so many. The gravity of this episode, the amount of stuff that they packed into this episode for everyone. Then you had the deaths of the people from the council as this whole thing is going on, like Sebastian Shaw, Madeline Pryor, like all these big names are going down. And yes, the Gambit part, just there is nothing about that. When he's driving that motorcycle up there and he's about to make his attack, I'm like, oh, my man is going full kamikaze. I'm here for it. And yeah, he lets through, and Rogue's tears at the end, Magneto's moments at that point, just everything about that was the fear in the New Mutants' eyes as they feel like they are about to die. The Morlocks watching the deaths happen around them, and just the fear and the sadness in their eyes. Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah. All right. What's your third choice?
All right. My third choice, I am going to go a lot more lighthearted with this
Okay.
one and stick to my episode 4 since I just mentioned it. And I'm going to go Hawkeye, episode 4, Partners. Am I right? The
Okay.
most fun episode. It had LARPing,
I was about to say, this is a LARPing episode, isn't it?
and it had us falling just head over heels in love with two characters that going into this you did not realize they were going to just be the fun great episode. The Yelena moments of this, it's fun. It gave you another layer to this character that made a lot of people see her in a different light, get that, those laughs with her character, the making macaroni, things like that, the fight in the elevator over pushing the button, things like that, like just all those moments between her and Kate Bishop.
Oh, Kate Bishop. Oh.
Those interactions between them, it was a fun episode. And then yeah, watching the LARPing, watching Clint have to get his stuff back, but having to go through, hey, the nerds in the park have it, so this is what we got to do in order to get it. And then just genuinely having fun in those moments of all the other heated battles that are going on right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I would say, like, is the interaction between the whole LARPing sequence. It's just like, it introduced a whole subculture for people who didn't know what LARPing was at that point. No, I mean, Hawkeye itself is just a great, it is one of those that, it's in my Christmas rotation now because it is a Christmas show. And it uses kind of the backdrop of it, and it deals with the idea of what that part of the phase of Marvel was, post-traumatic stress. Like, how do you deal with the traumatic stress of what you've been through and getting your family back and legacy, and someone that in Kate Bishop, who's trying to find her place and wanting to prove herself at that point. But yeah, that everything about it, yeah, it's a great choice, absolutely great choice.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna bring this also to a Netflix episode. We're gonna go back to a season 2, Daredevil season 2, not an episode 4, an episode 3 entitled New York's Finest. So This is the season that introduces Frank Castle in unforgettable fashion, and New York's Finest solidified him in this single episode as one of Marvel's television's greatest characters. After capturing Daredevil, the Punisher ties him to a rooftop and delivers one of the MCU's most compelling philosophical debates. Their argument over morality, justice, and the nature of vigilantism remains the highlight, in my opinion, of Marvel storytelling. Charlie Cox and John Bernthal deliver a powerhouse performance of this character study. The episode masterfully balances dialogue driven tension and raw action. It culminates in a brutal hallway stairwell fight, very infamous for that show, where Daredevil battles gang members while still shackled. Come on. I mean, that right there alone. But the juxtaposition of intimate character drama and bone-crushing combat encapsulates why Daredevil remains so beloved and why we are both looking forward to Born Again Season 2. New York's Finest is more than just a showcase for the Punisher. It is a searing mediation on what separates a hero from a killer and why that distinction matters.
Yeah, this was a great episode, and this episode actually inspired our post-credit scene, so stick around for that. But there were so many great moments, seeing Daredevil like strung up, the gun taped to the hand, all of that happening. I mean, and this was also the episode like I began to just hate Samantha Reyes and Blake Tower, and I was just like, you guys, everything about this is getting on my nerves. But the back and forth between Frank and Daredevil, and then the moment on the rooftop where I believe the gentleman's name is Jerry comes up to listen to, he's the super and tries to figure out what's going on, and him and Frank have that moment and talk about their service in the Marine Corps, but all the while Punisher sitting there with a gun behind the door, like, all right, if he tries to press, if this doesn't work, I'm willing to take him out to continue my mission. But he's just talking to him like two old vet Marines, and they're bonding over that. And then he instantly turns and goes back to what they're doing, because like he's just like, I don't want to kill this guy, but I will, because I need to A, keep Daredevil strung up, and B, take out the dogs of hell at their clubhouse. So boom. And yeah, it's just a great moment. And yeah, that fight scene between Daredevil and the dogs of hell, and them going through, and him with the chain wrapped around his hand, all of that's just amazing.
Yeah. All right, what's your fourth?
All right, my fourth, I will stick with the Netflix era, and I will go Jessica Jones, Season 1, Episode 9, The Sin Bin.
Ah, okay. I was debating if I was going to put that as my next one, but thank you for not allowing me not to. So
this is Kilgrave in the box, and David Tennant acts the hell out of this episode for him being
agreed.
Confined the entire time, but he still is the big bad menacing villain. They make you still feel scared of him and scared of anything he can do. But then also, as you're getting this look into his past, what his parents put him through, and then what he ends up doing to his parents as a result, like everything about this episode is just, it's David Tennant just being full on Kilgrave. And this was the first time that, as watching this entire season, because I watched him as a version of the Doctor, the 10th version of the Doctor in Doctor Who for years before this. So I still saw the fun-loving guy until this episode when I was like, he is committed to this bit. And I was like, yeah, it was there was great moments with Hogarth, Jessica and her sister, and their fracturing of listening to each other. So yeah, everything about this, and again, the moment with him and his parents where you find out the experiments that they did to him, the torture that they put him through, and then the way that he ends up taking out his parents as a result, it was a lot of great acting for someone who was trapped in a jail cell the entire time.
Yeah, so I will start off my kind of discussion of this one. Good choice. How dangerous is Kilgrave? How terrifying is Kilgrave? How brilliant is David Tennant in this role? Watch this episode and just bear witness to how terrifying and how great of an actor David Tennant is as Kilgrave, the Purple Man. Jessica thinks she's got a good plan to take down him, and it involves Kilgrave's parents. Jessica finally has Kilgrave. He's in a cage where he belongs. But in a world of superheroes, nothing ever goes as planned, and it doesn't work. And one of the most brutal things in anything MCU related, Kilgrave orders his mother to stab herself to death, and then orders his father to cut his own throat. Kilgrave can enthrall anyone till they comply. Kilgrave watches. Hogarth quickly is tempted by everything that Kilgrave has to offer. Meanwhile, Trish gets her hands on drugs to make Simpson what he is. And Simpson himself is currently overdosing on the very same drugs, becoming Nuke later on. The episode is in my opinion, top ranked. And this is a good reason. There is simply so much that happens here, and that's so the writing of this and all the information changes thrown our way. This is reason why Jessica Jones season 1 is like nothing. The next 2 seasons don't even compare to it.
Yeah.
I love Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones, but the next 2 seasons just did not do that character any justice. Everything I point to when I say if you want to see something that you never see coming, watch Jessica Jones season 1 and don't watch anything else from this show. It's just you'll be coming back saying, "Oh, why couldn't it be this good?"
Yeah. Again, just amazing acting. David Tennant he makes this episode, and he makes you fear this villain going through. So when everything happens at the end, you feel Jessica is rightly justified in the action she took based upon this episode and other actions. Like, yeah, I could see why she would come to that conclusion that this is the only action that you have at this point, because he made you fear a man who all he does is speak.
Yeah. All right. So my final one, my number 5. It's always tough. I'll even say we can if we want we can do an honorable mention. One honorable mention for both of us.
Yeah.
So, all right, this one. Well, David, I do have an episode 4. I do have an episode 4 on here, and I'm going back to animation.
Oh, I think I know where this is going.
and a single episode can do so much, especially an anthology series, and just make you feel for a twist of a character that, man, what would you do in this situation, and what would you do for the one you consider the love of your life? And I'm talking about what if episode 4, what if Doctor Strange lost his hands instead of his heart? So, the MCU has a habit of characters having to fight themselves throughout a franchise. Nebula, Captain America, Vision, and Loki have all had to square off with a different version of themselves. Though none of them can compare to what Stephen Strange did in this episode. The only sorcerer strong enough to stop Doctor Strange was Doctor Strange. What If is always going to be something different for the MCU, and I think it's a series that had a lot of potential, and I think there are episodes that stand out amongst others. I think as a whole, I still think there was plenty untapped there. I hope one day they do come back to it. But this series shows multiple deaths of multiple Avengers, a world infested with zombies, post-apocalyptic futures. But what was achieved with Doctor Strange having his heart broken by the absolute point that was Christine Palmer's death, and was overtaken by desperation, depression, and grief before bringing the entire universe to end around him, realizing that no matter what he did, Christine Palmer had to die. And if he stopped that, everything would collapse around him. In that moment, he didn't care, and became the monster and dragged the power he sought, and realizing no matter what he did, no matter how much power he had, it was never going to go his way. And he taking the light-hearted side of what we've known from Doctor Strange and creating this alternative version where he becomes a villain, but we all like, what would we do in that situation? Even confronted with the fact that you're never going to change this one. This is an ultimate point you cannot change. It was another one saying, wow, again, animation coming out swinging and putting us into this point saying, man, that totally just breaks you as a
Yeah.
viewer of this episode.
Yeah. This starts off with, we have a version of the driving scene from the original Doctor Strange, but this time Christine Palmer's in the car and in the crash, she ends up dying and he goes to Carmitage to try and figure out a way to bring her back. And that is his entire journey, is how do I bring back the love of my life, including going so far to challenge the Ancient One and getting split in between Strange Supreme and the other side of Stephen Strange, having that get absorbed. He gains all this power, then goes to bring her back only for her to be repulsed by the man he's become in his quest for power and the ability to change everything, to change this absolute point, to undo this paradox. She doesn't want anything to do with him at this point, and
Yeah.
it it is an incredibly well written episode, and but it is also one of the many episodes where the watcher does more than just watching.
Yep.
So yeah, no, the great episode, and yeah, that was on my list of possibles. So the minute you said animation in episode 4, I knew exactly where you were going.
Yep. So, all right, what's your final choice?
All right, I've got 3 to choose from. I am going to go with Daredevil season 3, episode 13, A New Napkin. That was the Netflix series finale. Before we got the comeback, that was the series finale. That was the I beat you. Everything about this episode, the fight between him and Fisk, everything going on with Bullseye, like this was an incredible episode. And the way that it ended at the time, not thinking that we were going to get any more of this for a very long time, I felt, man, that this ended on an absolute banger for us if we are not going to get this back.
Yeah, this was, I can't even remember the episode. It was an interesting, quote unquote evergreen stream that Brent and I did. Was our favorite not, and he came up with the idea, and it's still a fun episode. I should go back and revisit, but I remember that this was the episode that we were looking at were our favorite Marvel non-action moments. Um, and this was, and he first had to question me on this. He says the scene at the end where Matt as Daredevil goes like, I beat you, and just said, like, goes after him and said, I'm not talking about the
Yeah.
fight, I'm talking about the dialogue that he has. Technically an action sequence happened, but this is one where all the raw emotion, him taking off his mask and saying, and I beat you. I found a way to get after you. And if you so much as like think that you're gonna release this stuff, she is going to go down, and going to go down hard. And remembering
Yeah.
what everything that transpires in that moment informs why things happen the way they do in Born Again season 1. Like, this is Fisk's revenge on Matt
Yeah.
for what
The
he did to him.
When they're fighting, and I mean, Daredevil is just giving him hands, and Fisk is like, look, I'm never gonna stop going after you, Karen Page, Nelson. Like, this is who I am, and unless you kill me, I am going to take you out. And then Daredevil just beating him, and the blood splattering on the white rabbit in the snow painting and everything else like that. And yeah, it everything about that was awesome. Fisk being taken to jail, and he's like, I just need a moment to say goodbye to Vanessa. And um Mahoney's like, yeah, no, you didn't give our people that same, you didn't give Nadim that privilege, so you don't get that privilege. He didn't get to say goodbye to his family, you don't get to say goodbye to yours. And just takes him out, and I'm just like, yeah, at everything about this was just a cool episode. That ending, the scenes between Bullseye and Nadim and everything that goes on with that, the showing how Vanessa, like, she is fully embracing the evil side of this. So once we see her again in Born Again, we know, like, yeah, no, she's just as cutthroat.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so those are our choices. You know.
Yeah. So
It,
what is your honorable mention? Because I have to know at this point, because I have one, and yeah.
all right. Let me pull up my list and make my selection for my one honorable mention. All right. Looking down. I try to be. I want to be very careful. Hold on. I'm gonna fix my micro. There we go. All right. Let's see. Where do I want to go with this? Because it's one of those things where you want to spread the love a little bit to other shows and other episodes, and let's see. All right, I will go with where we started with Disney streaming at that point, to WandaVision, episode 5, on a very special episode.
You went with
Uh,
5. I
I
dig
went with
it.
5. Yeah. So that was the moment of series were transformed from a quirky little sitcom to a full-blown MCU epic. The cracks in Wanda's idyllic Westview begin to widen. The prompts, this prompts Vision to confront her about the increasing disturbing reality around him. Their heated argument is one of the show's most gripping scenes, forcing Wanda to acknowledge her illusions. Meanwhile, outside, the world closes in as Sword makes their presence more aggressive, exposing Wanda's control of the town. The episode's shocking final twist and the jaw-dropping reveal, especially when we were like, "Are they really doing it?" You turn on closed captioning. Oh yeah, they did. Evan Peters' appearance as Wanda's brother Peter ignited a theories everywhere of what's going on. By blending domestic sitcom tropes and escalating superhero drama, the episode struck the very perfect balance, in my opinion, of mystery and emotional weight. It stands out as WandaVision's one of the most defining, game-changing installments.
Yeah. It was a great episode. I mean, I have another episode that was on my list of possibles, but man, that whole season was good. The way that they built that, the twists and
Hashtag
turns.
Mephisto confirmed.
Yes, that Evan Peters, you're not going to give your freaking big bro a hug, like that moment right there. And they're like, she recast Pietro? Like,
Yeah.
all those moments were good. I personally had episode 8 on my list as a possible because of the Vision speech and just everything with her breakdown. But no, this episode was pretty great.
Yeah, and like you said, the season as a whole, as they were, homaging, every episode was an homage to a certain era, but also certain types of a particular show. So
Yeah. My honorable mention is going to be, and it is only because of one scene. It's Daredevil season 1, episode 4, In the Blood. That is because this is the episode that made me go, they are really letting Netflix do this character. And that is for the car door scene involving Wilson Fisk. It was at the time a shocker for, oh, we're doing this in a Marvel property. We're going this far. And at that point you knew there were no kid gloves on here. They were going to allow this to have that maturity. They were going to allow this character to be the dark, gritty character that they are. And at that point, I was instantly hooked on the entire Netflix run because I was like, At this point, if they're willing to do this, let me see where they take these characters. This isn't the, the fun guy in the suit that just the I'm a quote unquote big bad. Like I like Michael Clark Duncan, but his version in the Ben Affleck Daredevil was a tough guy in a suit. Where as this was, this is a formidable opponent.
Yeah, I think you kind of summed it up right there. Not a bad choice. I like it. You know,
Yeah.
so all right. Well, yeah. So those are kind of that's my at least updated list. It's David's list at that point. So be very curious to see what you all are thinking about that, and feel free to shoot us some of your choices in our DMs at that point. I see Axel in the chat saying just getting my Batman costume ready for a Halloween party. Oh yes, you're on the other side of the world. Yeah, Halloween's already started for you. So,
Yep.
but well, I hope you have a good time with that. The party. Look forward to seeing pictures later, my friend. And but yeah, let's take our final ad break for the evening and looking at listener feedback, factor fictions, and then continuing into Spider-Man Life Story issue 3. So as you know, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and we could be a bit loud, so give it that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right. So you've got, I believe, I put up the Spidey signal as usual, and we got some questions.
Yeah. So I'm going to start with Brent's question.
Okay.
And then we can move on to the other part of feedback. But let's start, Brent had a question of I'm hearing other podcasts talk about whether or not the general audience would be able to understand having a Batman in the DCU and another in the Reeves verse. There's also talk of Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire. People never seem to bring up that multiple Spider-Men could cause confusion. Do you think people would be confused by more than one Batman or Spider-Man? And if the answer is different for each character, why?
That's a good question.
I had an answer for this one
Yeah, go for
immediately
it.
when I read it, and that is that Marvel has already set up the possibility by having them have the crossovers, by establishing that there are multiple universes, by establishing that Toby went back to his universe. You can have a Spider-Man 4 and it's well established that it's already over here. DC, in my opinion, has not done a good job of establishing this is an Elseworlds. The best they did it with was The Flash and where that movie went, and the fact that there's not going to be any true fallout of that movie because of factors outside of that movie. They didn't really get a chance to build on, okay, there are these separate universes. But because Marvel has set up and reaffirmed that there are multiple universes, these things can coexist at the same time. It's easier for you to say, oh, yeah, we're bringing back him and this is Spider-Man 4, but that's that universe. This is universe whatever. This is not 616. And then people go, oh, okay. It's like, yeah, remember you saw at the end of this movie, he went back to his universe. That's where this is. Versus DC that hasn't really established truly those differentials.
Yeah, I think you bring up a very good point, and I would agree with that. Where when you literally had on screen 3 different versions of Spider-Man and their own history and their own where they're currently at that point, it would be easier to bring in for them. While one could say with where DC is right now, you have a Batman, you have a animated silhouette of another the DCU Batman right now, but nothing else really to go along with that. And I don't know if we've really had really legitimately more than one live action going on at the same time for Batman, that
Yeah.
was taken seriously. Um, and so it is very much a thing because people are more there's enough clamoring for I want a conclusion to the Garfield story. We kind of got one for Toby, but we definitely didn't get one for Andrew. Um, we don't. We pretty much, for the most part, have had conclusions for our Batman in some way, shape, or form. Whether we like it or not, conclusions have been established. Um, Obviously, I would like to see more out of Ben Affleck's Batman, but we know we're not. And
Yeah.
so clamoring for something that I know we're not going to get is fine. I think, do I honestly think we're going to get another Spider Man with Andrew or Toby? A solo? I don't. I don't. I think that the time, I would love it, but I just don't think. I think we'd be more prevalent to get them back in a Doomsday or Secret Wars than we are for a solo outing. And that's right now where I think my heart wants it, but I think the time I don't think it's happening. Um, Good ideas, but I just right now I don't see enough there that is going to say that we're a time where the studios are going to really bank on that.
Yeah. I don't see, especially Toby, like I'm glad that he had the opportunity to come back. I don't see him going and doing a full movie. I mean, that whole the joke about my back, I mean, the man legitimately has back problems. There's going to be a lot to going to an entire movie and holding that franchise up. And there's a lot of weight and expectation. So if they just bring him back in Doomsday or Secret Wars and have kind of a here's a flash into his life and where it's at now, and you just take a couple of minutes to here's his universe and here's how he's thriving in that universe, I will take that over you trying to force a 2 hour movie and force these high expectations.
Yeah. So, but yeah, not a bad question. So good thought at that point. All right. So is it time for me to answer Mr. Snell's challenge?
I give you the floor.
Well, Travis, despite what you think that you haven't been thanked enough, there are receipts out there to being thanked. I don't know what more you want. It sounds like I don't think you were joking necessarily. I think there was a little more of a seriousness nature. So you can spin it all you want in the sense of you thing was a joke or that you deserve all the thanks. And again, I have given you many thanks, many different ways, but it sounds like you want more. And I don't know what, we've tried to communicate, and apparently we both have friends on either side that are, I know I will take no things for what people have supposedly come after you and said. Definitely not at my egging on at any point. People do what they do, and I don't control that. But you challenged me for to confront you in trivia at the Geekverse 24-hour stream that you've come out triumphant against Taylor 2-1 in your trilogy battle with that. And it sounds like you want to start one up with me. For as you're using the kids, do it for the kids at that point. And it's why was it just like you to put the kids involved into this and to bait me like this? And this is my wife's birthday weekend to do this, and so now you're making me choose between putting my wife's birthday weekend to confront your way of your ego needs to be boosted at that point. So, I've got to think a little bit more about what I'm gonna do and how I'm gonna do this, and if it's even possible. I want to confront you on that one. So we're gonna have to see exactly. I'm gonna have to think around and you're putting, like I said, you're putting me in between my wife's birthday weekend, and I don't know how she would feel about that. How would her wife feel about that, Travis? At that point, so we'll see. An answer's coming. As I said, I will give you some sort of answer. I gave you, an answer of we'll see. But an answer's coming. An answer's coming very soon. Will you see it coming when it happens? I don't know. We'll just have to see when it comes. But are you paying attention? Are you watching closely? An answer will be coming. Stay tuned. Here we are.
I await the response. My only hope is that he does not choose the platform of the gimmick this weekend to air his responses because I don't want to be caught in the middle.
It's. I just don't appreciate being put in a place where I have to choose between celebrating my wife's birthday and for the children of British Columbian Hospital, which is an amazing organization that does great things. So, an answer's coming. Just not right now, but it's coming.
Stay tuned, listeners. It's heating up.
Yeah, it's like I said. Are you watching closely? So, all right. Well, let's get back to back to the normal episode. Back to action, as they would say in another favorite of nerds. So, fact or fictions? Fact or fiction time?
Yes.
I would say so. All right, so let me pull back up those from a couple weeks ago. I believe these were mine, and as always, I have it pulled up. But if you don't go back quick enough, it sends you back to everything. I gotta fill dead air because Twitter doesn't want to load right now.
I'm excited for the ones that I have chosen this week. Some of them I've had loaded for the last 2 weeks, and then one of them I swapped out on the fly yesterday.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm going back to here we go. All trusty, reliable. There we go. Got it. All right, number one. Wanda and Scarlet Witch will not appear in Vision Quest in new footage. 62.5% said fact. 37.5% said fiction. Number two. Colleen Wing will return in Daredevil Born Again Season 2 as the new Iron Fist. 47.1% said fact. 52.9% said fiction. You all disappoint me.
For shame.
Number three, we will see a major team member of the X-Men die in X-Men 97 and not be resurrected. 84.6% said fact, 15.4% said fiction, so someone else is on the chopping block. And number four, from our buddy Anthony, Turk Barrett will return in Daredevil Born Again Season 2. 57.1% said fact, 42.9% said fiction. So they want a little more Turk action.
Yeah, I mean he is a linchpin character and has always provided good laughs.
Yep. So, all right, what you got, David?
All right, so the first one is my most far fetched of them all, and that is DC and Marvel will have a live action crossover moment within the next 2 years.
DC and Marvel will have a live action crossover.
Crossover moment. This could be
crossover moment.
This could be something as small as them acknowledging, on a character, just like how we had in was it Peacemaker, where they acknowledged the Spider-Man meme, but actually having a moment where we see a character cross over. They've technically they have done it in animation, and kudos if you know what I'm speaking of in particular.
Yeah, it's and we've heard the what was it, the wanted Peacemaker to have Daredevil show up at that point. I get the discussion about that. Right now, I don't see it happening. Not in 2 years.
It's a far-fetched one, but I think with them having they have a comic book crossover happening again. In the past, Stan Lee made a cameo in Teen Titans Go the movie. So Stan Lee did a cameo doing a Stan Lee cameo in Teen Titans Go the movie. That's just how meta that they got with it.
Yeah.
So it's a hope, but we will see. I don't have too much faith in it, but I think it is even a non-zero chance.
Yeah. So, yep, I'm still fiction on it just because of the very close. So,
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Fact or fiction number 2. The events of Daredevil Born Again Season 2 will be the reason that Punisher meets Spider Man.
the event of Daredevil season 2. But the question is, because we were supposed to be getting the special before season 2. Is that our assumption?
Yes.
Okay.
Still the assumption that the special is going to happen.
Okay. Well, I think the special is going to happen. It's just a question
Well,
of
it's going to happen before we get season 2.
yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, they've I. I know what Charlie Cox says he's not in it at that, or no, he says he's not in like Doomsday or Secret Wars at
Yeah.
that point, or Brand New Day as well. Um, yeah, I think something is gonna be, alluded to at that point. So yeah, I'll say a fact.
Yeah, I think with that being their last hurrah before the big movie, then we will that's going to lead into it. Daredevil has met Spider Man. Daredevil has met Punisher. This is how they get to it. And speaking of Spider Man, I'm going to go with fact or fiction number 3. In Avengers Secret Wars, Toby Maguire will be there and reference the "Who are the Avengers" line with Tom Holland.
So one more time, say that. I'm trying to follow it.
In Avengers Secret Wars, Toby Maguire Spider-Man will reference the "Who are the Avengers" line with Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because we had that whole I was a part of the Avengers. He was like, "That's awesome. What are the Avengers?"
Yeah, I could be kind of a fun thing for them to acknowledge. I would like it at that point. Um, Again, it's a question of whether he's going to show up or not for it. But yeah, it'd be a cool moment, that he gets to. Oh, so this is the Avengers. This is what you're talking about.
Yeah, like a little callback to that moment of, "Hey, this is what I was talking about. These are the Avengers."
Yeah, no, I could buy it. Yeah, I'd be down with that.
Yeah.
So,
All right. So
Droga,
those are my 3.
yeah, Droga in the chat saying Matt Murdock's cameo in No Way Home is still one of the best cameos of all time.
Because he's a really good lawyer.
Yeah, he knows a thing or two about a thing or two, right?
Yep.
So, all right. Well, I will make sure that those are posted on Sunday afternoon to let your voices be heard with that. And let us bring this episode to a conclusion by diving back into Spider Man Life Story issue number 3. So we are in the 80s now, and I love the cover of this with him in the black costume in a tomb, so we know what we're dealing with this. So,
Yeah.
I love the kind of time has gone on, and he's obviously with Mary Jane. She's pregnant with twins, and you know Aunt May being, I don't think we've seen her in this kind of state where she's just basically like she's suffering through Alzheimer's with it.
Yeah, she's senile at this point. She calls Mary Jane Gwen. She's looking for Peter, not realizing that he's been gone for weeks. He's supposed to, be at the library at this point, but really he is off somewhere else in a gigantic battle.
Yep, we got Secret Wars, and I was interested seeing Peter with this is more like kind of armored up suit, as he's aged up and realizing that he's got to protect himself a little bit more, and Reed looking as grizzled as ever.
Yeah, Rita's fallen on some hard times, and Spidey even mentions it, how, like he's appreciative of all these things. He goes, but right now Reed is a ghost, and he of a warning that is just haunting him. Like he's pushed his wife away, he's pushed everyone away, and that's not who Spidey wants to be.
Yeah. And I love the little, like, tips of the hat we get to the key sequences of when he gets the black costume. We don't see necessarily how Secret Wars ends, but, if you know, who ends up, and the kind of, before that, as you said, with Reed and Peter coming to some sort of, like, amends, as it were. But coming back out, in the black costume, the alien suit, and he comes home. They have embraced. He sees the twins, and how much he's missed for there, and then what's gone on in the world with a nuclear weapon being launched out, and the sacrifice that had to be made in order to stop it, with Vision just being just kind of like a silent specter for the disaster that happened when the weapon, the nuclear bomb went off.
Yeah. Um, Vision is he tried to save some people, ended up diverting this nuclear bomb, so things were still affected. He uh, went and phased out, and he stayed that way, just stuck in this moment. And even though he is Vision, he has this look of fear and this look of sadness
Mm-hmm.
just stuck on him as he's still phased out, standing in the wreckage.
Yeah, and he goes back and talks to Reed, and he's like, I've done. Have you thought about doing, the symbiotes alive? And he's like, I know, and that's why I don't wear it full time, so it can never necessarily um, take full control. And so that's a difference from the from the main continuity of it, because he didn't realize it till it was almost too late. But he says, maybe I should, they're seeing quote unquote Spider-Man murderers, and well, maybe I should have gone back to uh, my normal threads at that point. But he gets a frantic call from Mary Jane, and looks like Aunt May, was with the kids and got lost, or was not
Yeah.
necessarily doing what she needed to do. And I want to
Yes.
say, you put your kids, what is a person suffering through Alzheimer's, with your kids. A little question that.
Yeah, maybe not the best to leave the Alzheimer's patient with the baby. She kind of wanders off, like what tends to happens with a lot of Alzheimer's patients when left unattended. They, after a while, that happens, that wandering off. And Peter rushes home, and Mary Jane is like, hey, maybe it's time that we put her in a home, we get her a specialist. And Peter is just, he's not having any of this. But as Mary Jane puts it, he's not there to take care of Aunt May. He's not there to take care of Mary Jane or his family. So he
Mm-hmm.
is addicted to the suit and addicted to the rush that he's getting from the suit.
Yeah. Um, and he says, I'm just gonna go out there in my normal costume and go out on patrol and not have it. And then he runs into the imposter in the black costume, none other than Craven, who's going after him. And we get basically Craven's last hunt going on. And Mary Jane's like, oh well, he's disappeared. Well, he's buried alive, like he was. But then the symbiote costume feels him calling, and feels where he's in trouble, and breaks out, goes into the thing and breaks it out. So I like the kind of new way of how he gets out of there, and it's like, oh, he's a little more bulked up. The symbiote's mad. He's capitalizing on this anger, and Craven's trying to be Spider-Man and beat up on these foes and these muggers, and then you get Peter out there in a very, I would love to have heard what like he sounded like at that point, in a different voice, like, you stabbed me, you shot me, you buried me, it's over. And you get the teeth, you get him turning into this creature. Mary Jane's there, and he kind of gets a snap about it. He said, we trained for this, we talked about this, you got to do it, you got to take it
Yeah.
down before it takes hold of me. And she uses the sonic thing to get the symbiote off of him. But the cost is already there. She is moving out. She's taking the kids, and yet again, another issue where Peter has lost so much, lost everything. He's there with his, Aunt May. Craven's about to take his own life, but we see something try to stop him.
Yeah, and this is another issue where Peter ends up sitting disheveled in a chair, looking off in the distance. That seems to be a running thing for him every 10 years.
Yeah. So again, the Parker luck keeps on getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. So we're gonna see where this goes with this version of Craven, and what saved him from his attempted suicide. Um, we're gonna see what's gonna become of the relationship with him and Mary Jane as we move into the 90s, which was by a lot of accounts one of the best eras of things going on with Spider-Man. So we'll see the direction that they go with going into the 90s.
Yep. So we'll look at that. I will say next week, but maybe next week, maybe the week after. We'll see exactly as news decides to drop. But next time we drop the next episode, we will cover issue 4. So, all right. Well, volume 276 in the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this topic that we got to break down, and we'll see. Hopefully Marvel starts pumping out a little bit of news so we can get a proper back to what we do best here at Marvel Alliance, but we will see. So, David, tell people how they can follow you.
You can follow me on all socials at The Phantom. You can follow me here on the Geek First Network as part of our wrestling show, The Gimmick, where we come to you around twice a month, talk all things wrestling, what's going on. We've got a Saturday night's main event pay-per-view coming up pretty soon, and then we're going to be having some other shows after that. So we will get into some more My GM mode playing, some more wrestling reviews. So yeah, follow me on The Gimmick with S-Bubs and Mr. Snell. That's why I said as the scathing wrestling style promo that Chris cut earlier, I am scared
promo
that
ain't done yet. Promo's still going.
I'm scared that this feud is going to build up, and I'm hoping that no steel cages get brought out.
Well, if you're paying attention at that point, he did something I didn't expect. Well, I'm gonna, return the favor. One good throw deserves another, right?
Yep.
So, but yeah, you can follow me on all the socials at Chris Balga. Jake and I from the Brave and the Boys are getting ready to record this weekend our new new monthly breakdown of all the pre-orders that are coming up on Panel Bound Comics this weekend. So that'll probably drop within the next week after we record. So check that out on the Brave and the Boys YouTube channel. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUA Pod Network. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. And you can reach us on all the DMs. All our DMs are open. Give us fact or fictions, questions you have, just comments in general. Gladly, and we'll put it on the show and respond to you in kind. Continue to rate and review Marvel Alliance Solo Feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. We greatly appreciate it. And, we appreciate you all. We always, again, like we said, we wish we could be as weekly as we used to be. But again, Marvel content being as it is, we do appreciate you sticking around. And we want to thank you all for joining us live in the chat. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right. David, what you got for post-credits discussion?
All right, post-credits discussion. Marvel has been bringing a lot of panels and storylines to life, as I referenced earlier with that shot of Punisher and Daredevil just having the moment of being chained up. That's straight from the comics. So with that being said, what is a story or scene that could absolutely not be brought to TVs or movies?
Well, MCU has been we've got rated R stuff. We got rated R movies from the MCU now. We've got TVMA shows. I when I saw you put this in our notes, um, there was you said a scene, but I have a series that Marvel pretty much wishes they have never they never did, never done. Would rather it never existed. And this is one I do not see them ever homaging, referencing outside to make fun of or saying, "Oh God, what mistakes we made." And that would be a little mini series called Trouble. Have you ever read Trouble, David?
I have not read Trouble,
Oh
so
well,
enlighten me.
enlighten you. So Trouble was a 5 issue limited series written by Mark Miller, illustrated by Terry and Rachel Dotson, published 2003 to 2004, and it was a series that followed a summer vacation of recent high school graduates May, Mary, Ben, and Richie, as subjects of different things of teenage things, and it was heavily marketed as a new origin story for Spider-Man, with much of the promotion centered around how the series' primary characters are heavily suggested to be younger versions of Spider-Man's family members: Aunt May, Uncle Ben, Richard, and Mary Parker. Um, so here's the plot. I'll save you the trouble because you also will not find this on Marvel Unlimited. That's how controversial this series was. May, and her best friend Mary get a summer jobs at a resort in the Hamptons where they begin dating fellow coworkers Ben and his brother Richie, respectively. May and Ben's relationship soon becomes very hot and heavy. I'll leave it at that. And there is depicted in the book hot and heavy. Basically going as far of not seeing things, but very close. But Mary tells Richie that she is abstinent. A very frustrated Richie begins having an affair with May. Soon after, May becomes pregnant. The affair is exposed after May discloses her pregnancy to Ben, and he responds that he cannot be the father as he is sterile. Fearing reprisal from her religious parents, May considers having to dealing with pregnancy before deciding to run away from home. A desperate May later contacts Mary, and despite Mary's continued anger over the affair, she agrees to help her. Mary formulates a plan to claim May's baby as her own, allowing May to conceal the truth from her parents and allowing herself to test Richie's commitment to their relationship. May gives birth and returns to her parents, and Mary and Richie begin to raise their son Peter as their child. Yes. Yeah, your look at that one is just like what everyone was saying. Yes, this was put out as a new origin of Peter Parker's family. Oh my God. No, Trouble will never be adapted. But have fun reading it there if you can find it.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. That. My pick is bad for different reasons, but yeah. No. I have not. All I can think is like that. That's a side of Aunt May that I don't need in my life.
Oh, there the panels in the book. Look it up. The panels in that book are quite enlightening. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is no. Nope. I,
Choices were made, mistakes were made.
is this the HBO After Dark version of Marvel?
Oh, there's another series called Marvel. That's another one to look up too that Marvel would rather not have done. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But my choice was Trouble.
Okay. My choice was Ultimatum. It had it's got the flooding of an entire coast and people just dying left and right. It has Blob eating the remains of the wasp in a very just gory, gratuitous scene that I
Yeah.
was not expecting. And I mean, like this is full on splash. This isn't a mini box over in the corner. Just so many people are taken out with this, and yeah, it is something that for the amount of deaths that happen in there and the people who die plus the gruesomeness of it. I mean, they were taking this where the Ultimates line, we're pushing things a little bit more. You got Magneto killing Professor X. You got him just killing everyone. Like the whole reversing the polarity and doing the flood stuff. They kind of touched on it in X-Men 97, but not like this is a grand scale of just death. And I was like, oh, you guys are just wiping everything out. And I was a fan of the Ultimates line, but when it came to Ultimatum, I felt like they just was like, eh, let's just start throwing things to the wall and see what sticks. And it was a hodgepodge, and it was horrible.
Hmm. Yeah, I would agree. It was a very unfortunate ending to the Ultimate Universe in that
Yes.
current iteration. So yeah, but mine, like you said, um, it was bad in one way. Yours was bad in a different way, but I see Gear Mango saying Jameis Spidey's 9/11 won't get adapted. Yeah, probably right at that point. Um, Inhuman, I'm there that too. So, but all right. Well, we will see you hopefully next week. Hopefully Marvel drops some news. If not, we will see you soon, and we will check you out later. Again, ta ta.
See ya.